It might be, good to start a fire with, I'm not sure.
Oh, it was.
No.
Oh, no, we didn't go to that.
Oh,
We were, my
My
nephew brought his family.
Like long.
We were up in Woodland Park.
yeah, okay, sure, absolutely. Yeah, she does.
Yeah. You'll miss.
Yeah, my nephew brought his family in from the Netherlands. And this is the first time the boys have been in.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay.
And we got a lot of communication material.
Well,
A couple of times, I think pretty good at it.
That's good. No rookie camp here. After the last report from Russell camp, the question is, whether they're going to need anybody.
Yeah. Some steak dinners. Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Stop making projects. All right, I call the order of the meeting of Tuesday, August 6th. Can I have a moment of silence for all those serving in and outside our borders, please? All right, will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Shall we have roll call, please, Mayor?
Mayor Adrian Sandoval.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Clark.
Here.
Harold Leggett.
Present.
Nick Ralston.
Here.
Spencer Bradman. Troy Blum.
Here.
Hope Morris.
Here. All right. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Audience participation. We have Atmos Energy gas line project presentation. Before that, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to stand up before the board?
I might, but I don't know if I will. I'll listen to the board if I can, and then if I have a question or something, I'd like to.
Sounds good, Mr. Harris. All right, we'll move on to Atmos then. We have gas line project presentation by Curtis. Oh, I'm gonna.
Paradisa.
Paradisa, Manager of Public Affairs.
Awesome. Well, first up, I guess, no pressure, right? Well, first off, thank you folks for having me. What this presentation is about is we have a pipeline replacement coming to town. It's a very small project compared to what we've been doing in Will County. We have 20 service lines, and actually, before I start on that spiel, this is Bill McGow. He's one of our operations supervisors in the area. He oversees these projects. So we are in constant communication. I deal with all the communication, and he's giving me what's going on the ground. So actually, let's dive into it. Okay, so back on my spiel, project coming to town, we have a little over 20 service lines, 2,600 square, or is it square feet of pipe? 20? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so like I said, very small project. However, we still feel it's instrumental as a company to communicate to our customers and to the board and to the residents. So what's this PowerPoint about? We're going to clearly define Atmos Energy's accelerated pipe replacement program, and we're going to go into the ins and outs about who Atmos Energy is. We're going to identify opportunities, how we can be a better communicator to your residents. We sat down with Troy. Geez, I'm thinking. Last fall, we kind of came in here and said, hey, what's the best way to reach out to the residents? Is it, I believe there was an app, I think it's called Neighbor. Next Door Neighbor. I was tipped off on that, Facebook, and then also, where do you guys get your newspaper from? Tribune, or do you guys have a local paper?
The Northwell Herald is probably
Okay,
the most.
great. And we work with them. And I'm actually from Greeley, so I'm not too far up the road. So, and then, after the presentation, there's going to be opportunity for questions or concerns. So let's dive into it. So who is Atmos Energy? We serve, you cannot see, that is supposed to be the United States. But we serve roughly around 3.5 million customers. We're headquartered in Dallas, Texas, and we serve over 8 different states. This is our Colorado blueprint. We serve around 118,000 customers in 64 communities, and we have 3,100 miles of pipe and 126 employees. And then down here you can't really see, that's our community service hours. That's how much sweat equity we're putting in the community, giving back, and this is also the dollar amount, 214,000 that we're trying to give back to the communities we serve. If you look at Colorado, you can kind of see it. Kind of looks like someone threw some paint up there. We're really spread out. We're not really centralized, and it's nice for me. I get to go and I see a lot of different parts of the state, and we also talk about other projects we have going on around the state. So this is Will County. We have 53,000 customers, 50 employees, 957 miles of pipe, and this is kind of in conjunction with what we're doing in the state as far as charitable giving and community service hours. So why are we doing this? Well, across the enterprise, we're modernizing our infrastructure. We're spending $4 billion, not million, $4 billion across our 8 different states trying to get that old infrastructure out of the ground and replacing it with new state-of-the-art material. And this is within the past 5 years. Now, in your booklets that I gave you, you're going to see a little bit different number, and that's just because in the last year we have decided to increase that number. And I believe it is a different number. Those are hot off the press too, so I haven't really got a chance to dive into them. But if you have any further questions after you get the chance to look at those, feel free, and you can go ahead and give me a call. I'll pass on the card later. Okay, so now it comes down to the pipe. So what kind of pipe is in Platteville? Well, the pipe that our SSIR project is going after is bare steel in Colorado, and that's what we have in Platteville. Not a lot, from my understanding, and that's why the project is a little smaller. We're going specifically after the bare steel, not the coated steel, the bare steel. Now this is your various types of pipe that have been installed in their areas. You have cast iron, which we have none in the state of Colorado, and then the bare steel, and that's why I said we're targeting. Then it starts going into plastics, and what we are going to be replacing with is that black pipe down the end that's high density polyethylene, and that is the new state-of-the-art material that will be going in the ground. This is kind of a blueprint of what makes up the state in the sense of pipe. It's a very small number, but with that amount of pipe, 3% could be a lot if you really look at it. And also in the operation booklet, you'll see that that number has gone down since this presentation was made in 2018. So we do have a little bit of plastic in Colorado, but like I said, none of that is here. It is in southeastern Colorado. Okay. And this is, well, what does this mean to you guys and our customers? Gas prices are at an all-time low, and this is the best time to go in and capitalize why we can remain customers. Gas prices remain low, and they don't impact it to the extent of where it can cause a disservice. So projected in 2019, obviously 2019 hasn't finished out, but we are roughly still at $49. So, and it's not only the residents of Platteville paying for this project, it's all of our customers around the state that get it on their bill. If you look at your bill, there's around 30 line items. One of those line items is the SSIR, and that's an integrity rider that we have to go through the Colorado Public Utilities Commission, and they have to approve of it before we can actually go and do these projects and recover that cost. Okay, pipe replacement projects. This year in 2019, we focused in Will County, Greeley, all Platteville, and then down, we have one project out of Will County down in Lamar. That's tackling PDC as well as Bear Steel. Okay. Now to Platteville. Once again, I apologize for the imaging right here. But 2,600 feet of Bear Steel, 20 service lines is what we have. And it's just a small corner now. There you go, you guys already discovered it. There is a better map on the back of that flyer you got. I'll go into discussion a little bit about that later. But this is where we're going to be. And over here, you see a little triangle. That is where we will be crossing Highway 85. Now, I got a video. I'm hoping it's going to show up, and bear with me if it. I don't think we have audio set up, but that's fine. I hope.
And Harvest Energy safety is ingrained in all that we do, from the moment we arrive at work to the moment we return home. Our 145 employees are committed to providing our communities with the safest, most reliable natural gas service in the nation. It's a big commitment when you think about it. We own and operate more than 3,000 miles of natural gas pipelines in Colorado. And when these systems were first installed, it was considered state-of-the-art. But these days, much like highways, bridges, and water lines throughout the country, many of our pipelines need to be replaced. That's why we're here today, to help you better understand the pipe replacements we plan to perform in each of our communities. Because safely owning, operating, and modernizing such a dynamic system requires a strong partnership between the communities we serve. In 2019, we'll be upgrading pipelines in several neighborhoods, including the gas line that connects to homes and businesses. In northern Colorado, you will see crews working in Platteville, Alt, and Greeley. On the eastern plains of Colorado, Harvest Energy will continue to upgrade pipelines throughout Lamar. Over the next several years, we will continue these pipe replacement efforts across the state, and we will continue to partner with you to help make our safe system even safer for generations to come.
Okay. And just to share with you why we really emphasize getting this Bear Steel out of the ground is our company's vision is to be the safest provider of natural gas services in the nation. And we believe if we aren't taking pipe out of the ground and modernizing it, then we aren't fulfilling that vision. So that is why we're going after this infrastructure. So, you guys have a lot of material in front of you, and that is our communication. Not all of it, but some, believe it or not. Customers, when the project comes into town, not all customers, but customers within the scope of the project will get a door hanger. The door hanger, door hanger gives a little bit more information in regards to what's going on. That's the customer's first question. Why is there an Harvest Energy truck and KR Schwartzberger in town? Why are they coming in and tearing up the street? And I will say we do a really good job of not creating a disturbance within town. This is all done by directional boring. We try to impact the cities or the town streets as much as possible. But they're going to see everything that they probably have on their mind. What is Harvest Energy doing? What does this mean for me? And what do I need to do? And then at that point in time, will come in, we will run our mains, and then we will renew the service line where we will have to have access to the customer's property. And these door hangers are hung up 48 hours before we arrive on the property, so they are aware of what we are doing. Now, throughout the course of the project, if you go and take a little drive, you will see, bell holes in the street, little square cuts, and that is us getting to the tap and actually putting a new service on. So it's not like we are trenching. For some, they think we're coming in and we're just going to be tearing up straight down the street. That is not the case. And we do take a lot of pride in our paving and our contractor as well, because they will be conducting the majority of the work. It's Karis Wurzberger, and we've laid a lot of trust in their hands, and they've done a really good job for us in the past. So we're happy to call them representing Atlas Energy. We do have one of our own though. It's going to be our field construction coordinator. He will be with our contractors throughout the whole course of the project. So if there's any questions or any disgruntled customers, he's there. He can take their questions, which ultimately leads back to me and Bill as well. With communication as well, they have the door hangers, the flyer. You also saw they can get a little bit more of a overview of the project, give some streets, and talks a little bit more in depth about what we're doing. And then also, this will be our first, but I'm kind of excited to try it. If that is something that the residents use the next door app, we are going to take a look at it and see what we can do on it as far as letting everyone be aware. So I'm actually kind of excited about that. And then our website, everything directs our customers to our website so they can find out pipe replacement projects, out the estimated time, and social media that it directs them there as well. Now, I said time. The time frame on this project is projected from September. Bill, when is it?
September 10th?
10th, is that run into November?
October.
October. So that is the time we expect to be here. And I will say, and we are hopeful, we have been running ahead on the majority of our projects this year, knock on wood. So we hope to be in and out as quickly as possible. And then this, to finish it off, just talks a little bit about us partnering with our first responders and making sure they are aware as well what's coming to town. And then also, we are putting an emphasis on actually getting in with our first responders, and we call it a natural gas workshop, feeding them dinner, just communicating a little bit about our procedures and what we do. And that is something that we look to do here as well. And then you couldn't end the slideshow without introducing our safety ambassadors. And this is a good opportunity. If you guys have any events with the town, we are more than happy to bring our mascots down. We have a skunk and a gopher. Does anyone know why we have a skunk?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. That is correct. Smell, listen, look. It's Rosie's safety message. She reminds everyone, smell gas, act fast, call 911. This is how we educate our customers on our product. And then, Gus, does anyone know why, I wish you could read it, anyone know why we have a gopher as a mascot? Digging?
Digging.
Yes. Call 811 before you dig. We try to remind everyone, please do that. And another one of our mascots, we got life-size costumes. They're kids love them. I actually get more adults taking pictures with them. And yeah, so if there is, ever an event, you guys want some entertainment. Harvest Daze.
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday? Okay. We'll see what we can do for you guys. And
You can wear either one.
either one? I wish I would have checked in to get it on the schedule earlier, because I really enjoy getting out to those events. I really enjoy my job just because of those events. It's fun. So, that being said, any questions for us?
How long is the service going to be off for the resident once you get to their area?
is it gonna be off that morning and turn back on that night, or?
Yeah, we shouldn't have to interrupt the services where we can do, we can use a mute or bypass tool that helps us, not turn off the service line to the home, but be able to keep the gas flowing while we're changing out the service line.
Okay.
So there should be no interruption. Might be one or two customers that were not able to do that just based on their piping, and maybe some other issues based on just the piping itself, that some old infrastructure or something that they have. Or if it goes under grade, we're not going to be able to do a bypass tool. We're not going to bring it up to code.
Okay.
But it should be very impactful, especially for just 20 customers. We might have 1 out of 20, just from what we've seen in the other bigger projects. Yes, hopefully none.
Also, to piggyback on that, if for whatever reason we do have to leave a customer off, if they are not home, we will tag their door, and we have another door tag that notifies the customer that we had to leave their gas off, and we do have text on call 24/7, and they can arrange for an appointment, even if it's at night, to come get their gas turned back on.
What's the purpose? You said just bringing it up to code, or getting rid of the steel pipe that is
Yes.
corroding?
The best way I like to explain it is just like highways, bridges, streets, after, a period of time, they just need to be updated, with the town, you guys have to modernize your infrastructure as well. Same principle for us is, with this pipe being installed, and I don't have an exact number, but majority of the bare steel pipe was installed in the 1940s, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Same principle.
So this plastic pipe going is more durable, or?
Yes, durable, I'm going to say it can stay in the ground longer, and you don't have to deal with things like corrosion, just like on bare steel. It's the new state-of-the-art material, and the manufacturer has some pretty profound, they have some specs that they're eye-opening, but this is supposed to outlast any of us, so.
It doesn't fully cure for 99 years.
Does it fully cure?
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
Fully cure for 99
Okay.
years.
And that's what we've been doing throughout the state. It is, it is lower pressure. We aren't dealing with, transmission pressure. So that is why we can use products.
So this area here isn't, we got older parts of town. Has it already been upgraded, the older part of town, or is this just the area that you picked to?
My part has.
Yeah, I believe that there was a project done a few years back that took care of the majority of the town that had bare steel.
Okay.
And via our own mapping system and records, this is the last piece for the town of Platteville that has bare steel in it. And that's not to say that the coated steel that's in the town, there is still some of that in the town, but it's not a part of our replacement program that the POC says that.
So there's no concern about the other stuff in the older part of town?
No.
Yeah, and then Bill spoke directly to it. That's what the state approved us to go after, is this bare steel and the PVC as well. So coated steel does fall out of that.
Anything else for Chris?
Awesome.
All right.
Now, are those bare steel lines going to be pulled?
No, those will be abandoned and replaced. We do have procedures in the sense of when we do leave pipe in the ground, make sure it's safe, and make sure that we have documentation of that pipe.
Okay, so the new pipe is not going inside of it?
It will not be, yes, correct.
That's what they did over at my place, is they replaced the old bare steel. Then you had to come back in and replace the plastic.
How long ago was that?
The steel on my head was a long time.
I know and I don't believe that was not part of this integrity rider that we have with the state. We've been doing this for 5 years now, I believe, but I do know that it was past that. Yeah, and we've done this, like I said, past 5 years, and we've gotten better each and every year that we do. We just got done replacing the whole town of Ulm. And, I'm happy to say that, things went well. However, that's what they told us. You can ask them. So, great.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
And I will pass my card out. If there's any questions at any time, please feel free to give me a call. I'll get those answered.
I think that was over 15 years.
Yeah. I know we've been in and out of Platteville quite a bit.
Because our life is
Thank you, Kurt.
Hey, thank you guys.
Thank you. Alright. Moving on. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of July 16th, regular meeting Board of Trustees, Resolution 2019-27, a resolution of the Town of Platteville Board of Trustees granting a charitable donation to Jason Hansen to help fund an Eagle Scout project at the Platteville Dog Park. And it includes amended law enforcement services agreement for the Town of Gilchrist, and it also includes the amended agreement for services and Drea's cleaning service.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda. Consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to action items, we have Resolution 2019-28, a resolution approving terminating an annexation agreement for the Harris property. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. For the last several months, I've been working with Ms. Kivik, town planner, Kivik Carberry Town attorney on this project. Actually, present with us tonight in the audience is Mr. David McKay. He's a prospective buyer in the Harris property along with Mr. Todd Harris, Dr. Harris, and then also his realtor also as well, John, sorry. Melissa outlined this. I've been working with Ken and Melissa. We were going to, let me backtrack first. Back in 2000, Dr. Harris annexed his property, which is located near County Road 30 and 85, north of 30, east of 85, up the hill to where Mr. Harris used to live, about a half mile up. This parcel of property is a 37 acres of industrial property that which lies between the railroad and the Platteville Canal. From County Road 30 extends north to that's Jones Camp's property, so we're roughly 37 acres. The other side of the ditch is Ag Holding, and that is not part of this project, even though it was annexed back in 2000. Initially, staff and I were going to present a new subdivision agreement for the board to consider. But at this time, our best approach, my recommendation, is to simply present a de-annexation of the property for the town attorney. And by de-annexing, it then negates the development agreement that tied to the property. The development agreement was a standard agreement which required water installation, sewer installation, roads, lighting. I call this property a little bit encumbered, if you will, because it does not have any water sewer access. And for years, I've been working with Dr. Harris and staff to develop cost estimates. And probably 7-8 years ago, they were about $500,000 apiece to get water and sewer across 85. MQP. It's not a small undertaking. With County Road 30 closing, as you well know, by the Union Pacific Railroad, that access to the property, direct access to 85 will be closed. Access will have to backtrack east a few miles, back 32, and back 85. So it won't be easy access. So my proposal with the town attorney and the town planner is to simply dissolve the annexation agreement and getting the old development agreement, which doesn't fit anymore since it was annexed, and let Mr. David McKay purchase the property as one large parcel. He paid his own money to have the survey platted, which was required in order to do this, separate it from the other parcel. And his intent was to implement a propane bulk station on that property, which simply requires very little infrastructure. Pursue a septic system to Will County, and probably a well when needed through Will County as well. And so the board knows we've done this similarly with other projects outside of our service boundary because we can't provide water and sewer to the property. I would like to give Mr. McKay an opportunity to introduce himself to the board if he so chooses. David, you want to step up for a minute? At least say hi and come on to the podium. I've been working with David for several months and just wanted to introduce him to the board and see if he could be a prospective new business owner in Platteville.
We're the better gas company. My wife and I, we own and operate a small, according to the big guys, a small propane company. We have 2 locations currently, and we're growing a lot up north. My wife and I live in Fort Lupton, but Platteville would be a wonderful fit for us. And we bring in quite a bit of money for Commerce City, just in sales tax. We sell 20,000 gallons a month in walk-in business, and that's something that we could build up here as well. I don't know if it would be that much, but we have a lot of traffic. So, and then hopefully in the future that we could bring other businesses into the town too by trying to develop the property. So, any questions for me?
How are you transporting the gas into the facility?
It would be by transport, and they would have to come around once UP shuts down the road.
Okay.
How's that? Are we going to connect 30 over to 32?
Eventually, I told David, eventually, we're looking at building a new frontage road from 30 to 32, but that's still, we're waiting on an agreement with Well County and CDOT for some potential funding. Then, we've worked with both Dr. Harris and Joan Kent and her cousin to develop or acquire an easement for that, and that's still in the works right now.
And would that be on the east side of the property?
It would be adjacent to the UP right away, the edge of it. So it would be on the west side of the property, closer to 85. But that's still in development. I don't have a prediction on that. And one thing I mentioned as part of this resolution is that right now, Mr., by your approval, de-annexing this property, voiding the previous development agreement, Mr. McKay could purchase it and pursue a site plan with the town, which is done administratively, to put his bulk plant on the property with very low impact. I mean, it makes no sense for us to run water sewer to this facility or require him to pave any roads. It's all dirt and it has direct access to 85. But as development occurs, if Mr. McKay decides to subdivide, there's language that then a development agreement would be enforced, would be negotiated with the town, where you can subdivide and sell off lots, and that's when the paving, the storm drains, the streetlights, that sort of thing would come into place. But probably in conjunction with the new South Front Street, which makes a lot of sense. So, but at least this gives him an opportunity. I know Dr. Harris has been waiting to sell his property for many, many years. And he's also present tonight to address the board if you have any questions for you.
So right now it is not annexed into the town of Platteville?
It is. It's in town limits. It'll stay in town limits.
It'll stay in town limits?
Yes.
We're just getting rid of
The annexation agreement, which is the development agreement. So we're not de-annexing. So if he puts in both on-site sales, we would be paying on tax revenue.
Okay, so de-annexing is not the right term?
No, it's vacating the agreement of the annexation. And like Kenner said, once the property is annexed, it's a temporary solution just to bring them in your town limits, and that agreement can be modified, but the annexation is done. So it's kind of tricky with the wording, but as she assured me, he stays in town, we're just getting rid of that development agreement, which does not apply. Because at one point, when Dr. Harris was on the board, when I first became the town manager, there was a concept plan that put 66 across the UP and the frontage road back behind Bella Holstein's and connected 32. When I took over as town manager, I called the Public Utilities Commission, and those funds were no longer available, and never was pursued.
Am I correct in assuming then that sales tax and property tax that the town receives from the property would remain unchanged as a result of this action?
Well, right now it's ag. So once it develops into a propane plant, it'll be assessed by the county assessor, so that value would likely go up.
And the sales tax from said propane business would all to the town?
All to the town if it's sold on site, like David said, as long as it's bought on site, it would, yes.
So there isn't any negative financial impact to the town by doing this?
Not that I can see.
Okay, I just wanted to make that more clear.
It's not gonna cost the town any money.
Right.
Mr. McKay's paying quite a bit so far to survey it, and he's also paid our fees to do the subdivision.
Okay, with this wording, the way it is, I just want to make that clear for the record that
Absolutely.
so that everyone understands the implication of all this.
Exactly.
Okay.
He can pursue the site plan once this is approved and do his operation. But if he wants to expand the operation, develop the property further, the development agreement will go, we got to negotiate that before he allowed to do any improvements to the property.
So most of your business is tanker trucks filling up propane tanks outside the community, right?
Yes, we have quite a bit of customers out here in the Platteville area.
Them closing 30 is not gonna hurt your business tremendously.
Sorry?
Closing 30 is not gonna hurt your business, I know that.
Not really, because we're over in that area to the east a lot. It is gonna be, once they do shut it down, inconvenient a little bit for the transport, bringing the fuel in, but otherwise, no, not at all.
Anything else?
That's all I have for staff.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution 2019-28, a resolution approving terminating and annexation agreement for the Harris property as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carried. Moving on, D, agreements for services, asphalt and concrete patching pre-bid, various contractors, Mr. Lincoln.
Before I defer to Dave, I just want to thank everybody for showing up on this property, John and Dr. Harris.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So I want to pass on to Dave, this is why he's here.
Won't be rude if we leave, will it?
No. We're used to it, John.
We understand. Thank you.
Well, Mrs. Mayor, members of the board, we doubled the number of proposed bidders when we broke these projects out to a little bit smaller. We had only, I guess we had two bidders that bid, no, we had one bidder that bid all 8 of these projects. That contractor ended up with a low bid on 3 of them. So breaking it up this way, we're going to end up with 5 different contractors doing the 8 different pieces of work. We will have separate contractors doing the Bella Vista concrete and sidewalk work, the curb and sidewalk, and then a different contractor doing the pavement down there. I spoke with both of those contractors and they're willing to work together. The pavement contractor just asked that we not have the concrete contractor have just one little piece at a time available, but somewhere in the neighborhood of a third to a half of the subdivision, and I think that that's at least how far of a head start the concrete contractor would like to have before having the other contractor come in. So they will work together to get that done. That's the only one that's going to require quite a bit of coordination, both with the property owners and the contractors, because the streets are so narrow when they're doing the work down there and that kind of thing. So that will probably merit or warrant some phone calls that I'll end up getting, because inevitably I'm going to miss knocking on somebody's door, or the contractor's going to miss knocking on somebody's door. But we will do our best. We'll use the Everbridge system. The contractors are supposed to put out notifications, so I'll make sure that they get those done, door hangers and that kind of thing. We'll take advantage of Facebook next door as far as trying to make sure people are aware of what we're doing. I've talked to quite a few of the residents when I was down in the Bella Vista neighborhood marking things out that now have white paint on the street and the sidewalk for a couple of months, and so they're starting to get the idea something's gonna happen, or at least I hope they are. But, so at this point, I have confirmed with all of the successful bidders that they were willing to come in and do just the portion that we, what they got the low bid on. And all of them have agreed to do that. A couple of them would have liked to have had more work. But on several of these, the price difference, as you can see, was considerable, so it was really hard to justify. If it had only been $800 or $1,000 and the other contractor already had 3 other bids, I might have been able to justify going that direction, but when it's $8,000 to $10,000 difference, it's really hard to justify that amount. The last set of bids that we had for the total package was about $480,000 or $490,000, and so this brought the price down to $279,000. So by going back out, we did okay. So I would be happy to answer any questions that any of you have. Otherwise, we can move forward with approving these.
When is the estimated time to start this work? Once we get
The only project that had a very short time frame on it was the school sidewalk between the schools. We asked that to be done before the school goes back into session the day after Labor Day. The rest of them, I want to say it was a mid-October time frame that we gave them. We stretched it out, and that's part of what brought our pricing down, is we weren't trying to crunch it into. We basically said before they closed by mid-October, we want it done or before the paving plants close. And in the last couple of years, they've paved into December. So I'm not sure yet. I mean, Mark Marietta is the one that suggesting that we accept their proposal for the work on Cemetery Hill. They are doing, he asked me today what our timeline was, and I said an ideal timeline would be prior to school on that, so we're not disrupting any school bus routes. But our proposal said the middle of October. So I'm going to let him tell me what timeline works for him. I'm telling him what would be ideal, but that's also them getting the bond to us getting a contract to them, you know, making sure we've got our ducks in a row. And part of that proposal was we required variable message boards for a week ahead of the work to be placed so that local traffic knows what's going on that one.
Yeah,
that's the only job that I required that on. The rest of the jobs, there was notification to the local residents, but I did not require, that was the only one that really impacts what could be a lot of non-residents as well. So that's why we did that there. Yeah, and unfortunately, that price doesn't do as much as Cemetery Hill as you'd like. But
oh, that's the quarter mile that
you know, you're in Platteville.
I'd like to add a couple comments. The school sidewalk replacement project actually was my proposal, and I asked you to get the bid. We budgeted $35,000 sidewalk maintenance funds to do the connection between the new fire station and town hall. Obviously, that's not going to be done this year. I'm asking the board to reallocate the money that we budgeted for the sidewalk project on Main Street to connect the 2 schools. Simply because I noticed over a month ago it looks horrible, and the old asphalt, mostly asphalt, is just falling apart. And with all the investment the schools are doing, I think making that a nice connection between the 2 schools would be something the town should do. The miscellaneous R&R on the concrete, that's miscellaneous patching some of this out of sewer. And then just different areas of town that did have noticed work that needs to be done. 3 contractors did not get any of the bids, but I think rebidding it was pretty good because we have $100,000 in the streets and highways fund, $150 in the capital improvement fund, and 35 in the sidewalk funds. We have $285,000, so it just came in under budget total compared to what we did last time.
Yeah.
So I'm most pleased with how this ended up being.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen a bid structured with piecemeal like it is. a lot of coordination for sure.
Well, and that's, by putting it out the way we had originally, we were looking to try and have the contractors coordinate it themselves, where if we had basically a general contractor that was dealing with his pavement subs and his concrete subs, he got to deal with the coordination factor. But for the price tag, we'll deal with the coordination factor, and it's not, I don't think it's gonna be as bad as I had anticipated that it could be. I found it very interesting that a couple of the bids actually went up from the last one, and then some of them came down. So that was very intriguing to me.
And also by breaking it out into 8 categories, some of the smaller contractors that really can't bond, they were able to bid on these projects and they will do some work, which I like, because that's just work some of the smaller contractors do. There's so much construction going on in Colorado, and we call it hungry. A lot of big companies I don't think are hungry because they're doing a lot of work. The price goes up.
One of the interesting conversations I had with the owner of St. Vrain Companies, who got the bid for the Bella Vista pavement work. They were the company, I got their name from JD Enterprises, is doing some work for the fire department. They were the ones that patched the corner out here, and I thought they did a really nice job. I watched the way that they worked. I watched the material and how much material they put in and how they took care of that. But he had asked me, he said, well, I didn't get the other Marion Avenue patch. And I said, no, I had somebody that came in about $400 less than you. And he said, well, I had to cover myself on that because you bid it separately. He said, if that had been lumped together with this other one, he said, I would only charge you $400 for that, but I couldn't take the chance on that was the only bid that I got, so I had to cover moving in to do just that one little patch. So I thought that was interesting, which is a bummer because we're gonna accept a bid for $936 versus $400 or $450 for it.
Could have wrote that in his bid though, right?
Well, I suppose he could have put something in there, you're right, that he could have referred to that and said that if I get anything else with paving, this is the price on that one. So, so yes, that would have been an option, but I learned something every time I put something like this out to bid, so.
Always learning. Any questions, comments?
Did everyone individually, huh?
Yes, please. I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agreement for services with St. Vrain Companies Incorporated for paving in the amount not to exceed $36,186,000, subject to review by legal counsel, authorized mayor to execute the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Harold Leggett,
Yes.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradman, Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Next.
Make a motion to approve an agreement for services with J.D. Chavez for paving in an amount not to exceed $49,845, subject to review by legal counsel and authorize the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradman, Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Harold Leggett.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Moving on.
Make a motion to move to approve an agreement for services with JD Chavez for patching in the amount not to exceed $936, subject to review by legal counsel and authorize mayor to execute the same.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Spencer Bradman, Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris, Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston.
Aye.
Next.
Move to approve an agreement for services with J.D. Chavez for concrete work in the amount not to exceed $5,922, subject to review by legal counsel and authorized mayor to execute the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris, Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradman.
Motion carried. Number 5.
Move to approve an agreement for services with Martin Marietta Materials for paving in an amount not to exceed $59,445, subject to review by legal counsel and authorize the mayor to execute.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please,
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston,
Yes.
Spencer Bradnan, Troy Blum.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 6.
Move to approve an agreement for services Martin Marietta Materials for striping in an amount not to exceed $6,802.50, subject to review by legal counsel and authorize mayor to execute same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradnan, Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark.
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 7.
Move to approve an agreement for services with Northern Colorado Concrete for concrete work in the amount not to exceed $67,736.02, subject to review by legal counsel and authorize mayor to execute same.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradnan, Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris.
Yes.
Motion carried. Number 8.
Move to approve an agreement for services with Northern Colorado Concrete for concrete work in an amount not to exceed $15,972.98, subject to review by legal counsel and authorize mayor to execute the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradnan, Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Harold Leggett.
Aye.
Number 9.
Move to approve an agreement for services with Jim Nelson Masonry for concrete work in the amount not to exceed $36,732, subject to review by legal counsel and authorize mayor to execute same.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Spencer Bradnan, Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris, Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston.
Aye.
All right. Now I have to sign all those?
Yes.
Eventually.
I do apologize, that's the longest motion I've been part of. But by doing so, we saved over $100,000 taxpayer money.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
I was happy with that.
Thank you, Miss.
Mrs. Mayor, if I may, real quick, I did want to point out that on the Cemetery Hill pavement, Snyder Paving had come in with a lower bid. But their bid, after reviewing it and looking at it, it said it did include traffic control, but they would not do anything with the striping. So we looked into going ahead and just contracting with a separate striping contractor to do that ourselves. But by the time we got done going through what the traffic control just for the striping side of things and everything else, we were over $10,000 to $12,000 when Martin Marietta had a bid of $6,000 or $6,800 for that. So that was why what the rationale was, because we did put the striping and the pavement on the same RFP, and so because Snyder came back with just the paving portion and not the striping, it wasn't a complete package. We considered going a different direction with it, but because Martin already had the traffic control and that kind of thing built in, that's why we opted to do that. I meant to bring that up earlier.
You know, the striping clarifies not just the Cemetery Hill, it's all of Green Ave.
And all of Skirtle.
And all of Skirtle, all the way from the Cemetery to the cemetery.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, so
That'll
it
be
all
very
needs to
nice.
be done.
Just the center stripe, any of the white stripes that are there, I did not bid that portion. We just were trying to redo the center stripes and make sure we got that redone.
Okay. Fabulous, thank you. Okay, moving on. Agreement for services, electric gates at Mizpah Cemetery, Jim Nelson Masonry, Mr. Rankin.
Mrs. Mayor, as you may recall, last month the board approved funding for Mr. Nelson to construct the new pillars at the entrance. I went up and spoke to him today. The footers and the pillars blocks are done. Tomorrow he'll start putting on the cobblestone. Getting your approval tonight, I'll call in the morning. He's a subcontractor that's doing the bids. He and I spoke to Mike Evans to ensure the electrical would be hooked up. Mike's already pulled all the conduit. So this is a not to exceed price for 2 black electric gates that has the monitors or the transmitter where the both open up and close with remotes or with key code. And they're leaving a small walk-in, so if the gates are locked at midnight, somebody can still park there and then walk off in if they want.
Is that do we have time set that we're gonna have the gates closed?
It's not a timer, but, I mean, still negotiate that, but I think if I get the PD to, lock it up like at midnight and open up at 6 or something, but the thing David has noticed and Public Works has noticed in the law enforcement, people that stop up there all times of the night.
Yeah.
So, but there are times where being able to lock that up is, especially in the wintertime, would be nice to have, to reach families. The entrance will look a lot nicer. I think we'll get a lot of positive comments. The museum days are excited about it. So, the board had asked me, Jim initially gave me a quote from another subcontractor that was almost as much as what we're paying him, which is $10,000. I said no. So we've had another 8 person through the help of Mike Evans, and it's now $49.04. And talking to Jim and Mike, they thought it was a pretty reasonable price because they're fabricating the gates to fit this project, and the powder coating in black, and then the electrical and the transmitters all off that still. So, but I know the board was curious what it cost to just finish the project, so I want to present this option for your consideration.
And this also falls within, within budget?
We budgeted $35,000 the cemetery fund. The pillars are just under 10 plus this, so it'll be about $1,400 profit. Sorry, 14,000. I lost a zero. Too many numbers to that. 14,000 to 35,000.
Wonderful. All right, any questions, comments, concerns from Mr. Lincoln or Ms. Brand? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve an agreement for services with Jim Nelson Masonry for the installation of electric gates at Mizpah, in an amount not to exceed $4,900, subject to review by legal counsel and authorized to be entered.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Harold Leggett,
Aye.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bredden.
All right, motion carried. That'll be nice.
One thing to add is on the pillars, each, as I indicated in my report before, each one will have engraved stone, like a 2x2 stone, implanted into the wall. Left will say Mizpah Cemetery. I work with museum agents trying to find the establishment date. I have a date of when it was named Mizpah. The cemetery was there long before that. We may just put the address of the cemetery up there under Mizpah because nobody knows where the address is. So,
But they know it's the oldest cemetery in Colorado.
exactly, but we just don't know what date.
In Will County.
In Will
County,
County.
okay.
And then the right one, the east one, right by the memorial, will say Platteville by the memorial 2017. And then he's building the lips on the front of them about 6 inches over, and he's gonna donate some lights that'll silhouette those at night.
Nice.
So those will automatically come on a dimmer, on a timer, not a timer, but a solar motion.
Yeah.
So those will be lit every night automatically. I thought that was a nice touch.
That'd
So,
be awesome.
and he was gonna donate that to the project.
Okay.
So,
He does good work.
Yep.
yeah, it does.
No, we like free stuff.
That too.
All right, thank you guys. Moving on, D, antenna placement agreement, third amendment, Skybeam LLC, DBA Rise Broadband. Mr. Lincoln.
Okay. For many years, we've had agreement with Skybeam, but now it's bought out by Rise Broadband. And basically, the saleswoman, I basically call her, she's the one that talks to me about their lease. Their company wants to add another dish. In 2015, we allowed them to have 3 dishes. And for each dish, their standard industrial rate is $75 a month. I require $150. That's about as much as I can ask them for. And so they just want to add another 40-pound dish on top of their equipment that they already have up top. And in order to do so, I checked with Steve Atheris and David. I just want to make sure the structural integrity of the water tower is still stable. And with the small amount of weight, it is. It's not a problem. But work with Kenner on the lease agreement. This will bring our monthly payment from Skybeam that goes 100% toward the cemetery operations to $1,000 a month. So we're just trying to help offset those costs as best we can. So it's pretty straightforward. It's similar to what we did 3 years ago, but this time it's just 1 dish instead of 3. And there's pictures of the little dish here that we put in the back you can look at.
So they're not adding a 4th one to it, they're removing the 3 and just adding 1 single.
No, they're adding 1 new one.
So it'll be 4 total, okay.
Yeah, there's multiple ones up there now.
Right.
And they want to add some new conduit up there, but that's a separate project they're working with David on for, just adding more, cabling or.
They want to add more fiber optic there, but
Yeah.
there's already so much fiber up there, it makes me, water lines and other stuff that are there, so I'm gonna jump through a few more hoops to get that in.
So I'm gonna dump that on David, I'll take care of this.
He always takes the light jump.
Delegate, that's a good manager right there, delegate.
Delegation.
All right, I entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve the antenna placement agreement, 3rd Amendment with Skybeam LLC, DBA Rise Broadband, as presented and authorized mayor to execute the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Moving on to reports. Mrs. Norton.
Thank you, Mayor Sandoval, board. You probably were aware that we were renovating the bathrooms in Platteville. All 3 of them at the same time, which meant that we didn't have any water. Thankfully, the museum is next door. And we have a key. But we were actually closed for 2 months.
Wow.
When they got in there and started renovating, of course, all of the lines were under concrete. There was places the concrete was 4 inches thick, and there was places it was about 8 inches thick. It varied. And so it turned into a lot more than what was anticipated once they got into there. But we now have functional bathrooms that look like they belong in this century again. We're glad to be back open, and so is everybody else they're glad we're back open again. We are now fully ADA compliant. That was the only hiccup that we had in that building. We could have gotten by being, grandfathered in, because we were just on the verge of not being completely compliant, but we are now. So we don't have to worry about ADA coming in on us at any point. We are going to re-roof the original part of the building. It's probably going to happen sometime in September, October. We've had several leaks, and a lot of it is due not only to the age, but the existing skylights up there. So we will have the skylights replaced as well with something that is much more efficient and holds the water. The one thing that we will be coming to you with at some point with High Plains Library District is the renegotiation of our IGA. This has been a problem for the last 10 years. We're actually operating on an IGA that has been expired, but with new administration in the High Plains Library District, I think we can all come to an agreement on an IGA as member libraries that will suit us all. It's just a matter of getting to it and getting everybody together and getting something figured out. I don't anticipate any huge obstacles by anybody, at least I hope not. We have fought this thing for the last 15, 20 years. And it's time to come together and make this thing work like it's supposed to. The Natchez Library in Gilcrest, we have a tour probably at least twice a month that goes through there. Not only for the energy efficiency of the building, but it will be used as a prototype for any other community libraries that High Plains Library District is thinking of building. They're very pleased with how it's put together, how it's operating, and just an aside on that, since April, we have not had an Excel bill because of our energy efficiency and our solar panels. Our Excel bill usually only runs about $30 anyway during the winter. But this summer, yeah, no bill since April, and we've gotten like $10, $15 rebates. So that's worth it.
Yeah.
One thing you might want to put on your calendar, October 25th, it's on a Friday. From 10:30 to 2, we are doing a blood drive. And this is kind of in conjunction with the blood drives that are going to be going on in the metro area at the same time. It's called the Battle of the Badges, and it's going to kind of be the fire department against the first responders and police department. And so we're trying to coordinate some of our PR on this with the metro area as well. What else? Oh, we will close Friday at 5 o'clock to do the chalk contest for Harvest Daze. Other than that, we're open the rest of the time. And we will have a parade entry. High Plains Library District is actually bringing one of their mobile vans, and we will put our banner on the side. Yeah, I mean, they're cooperating now. It's after 20 years of head-to-head button heads. It's kind of strange.
What changed?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I remember 10 years ago, it was like in the paper all the time about bickering back and forth of,
Yeah, no, it's incredible how a change of administration changes everybody's attitude. Yeah, so, that's about all I got going.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Diane? Comments? All right, moving on to the Recreation Director, Mrs. Torres.
Thank you, Mayor Sandoval and the board. I submitted my report. Wasn't sure what format. So if you like a different format, just let me know. I'm happy to mix it up. Put on some pretty colored paper. Attachments pop up. Yeah, Troy gave me some samples to look at.
So she took the best of all three worlds.
Exactly. So then I was like, all right, let's go with this one.
Very good report, Ted.
Yes, it's very
good. It has been, I feel like someone has turned the fire hydrant down a little bit, maybe attached a hose, so it's not quite as overwhelming. The seniors, just next week is their last week for their evening meals. That has been a huge success, and they have really enjoyed that. So the goal is to once a month do an evening meal with them where the town will provide the main dish, and then they'll sign up to bring sides and desserts, just to keep that community of eating together. There are people who can't come during the day because they're still working, but they would fit that population. And so it's an avenue to hopefully get them more involved in some programming that we're doing over there. I took my first trip to Black Hawk on last Thursday. I went up with them. Lucy was dead set that I was going to get a free buffet. So she's like, here, give me your card. I'll be in before you do. I'm like, okay. So
give me your
she
card.
got me.
Your credit card?
No. She made me get a little lodge casino.
Oh, okay.
So then it keeps track of your points. I clearly don't understand gambling. There's too many lines, there's too many things. I'm like, where's the handle that you pull down?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, and it's so loud. Like the probably first 30 minutes there, I was just like, is there a volume? Turn it down. This is a lot of stimulation.
Adult Chuck E. Cheese.
Exactly. Exactly. But we had a really good time. Stopped at a Palisade peach stand and got cherries and peaches, and I got home. I was so proud. I'm like all excited to share them with my husband, and he goes, they see you coming. They literally see you coming. You paid $10 for that tiny little bag of cherries. I said, just try one. They're way better than the grocery store. And he was like, So, so the seniors are going good. We're going, this is the standing joke. Oh, I can't say the name of where we're going on Thursday for the field trip. It's at Ames Community College. It's the presentation that they're doing on, like, we're going to see Teddy Roosevelt and Mark Twain. Yeah, that's it. I keep calling it Chappaquiddick.
Yeah, she does.
That's all one of the seniors goes, how many bags should we pack for that? I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm calling it the wrong thing.
I can't pronounce it either.
Yeah, it's just a weird, and like I keep looking at it, I'm like, oh.
You can't look at it.
No, I should just like, so we also have 2 more field trips lined up this month. We are gonna go down to Hammond's and do the candy factory tour.
When are you gonna do that?
22nd.
The 22nd?
The 22nd.
Oh, I think I'm gonna be out of town.
And then we're gonna, on that day, we're also gonna do a tour, a trolley tour of downtown Denver.
Oh.
Maybe reschedule your plans. It'll be fun. And then on the 29th, we are going to the Wings Over the Rockies, Air and Space Museum, down in South Denver. Which, like, I just keep thinking, oh, hopefully Bill can drive, because that's a big van and those streets are really narrow.
It's just down in Aurora, it's not that far.
Oh my God, yeah, it's just in Aurora. I'll be taking the blood pressure cuff with me. So the seniors are going really good. We had the end of season banquet for softball, baseball, t-ball, and coach pitch. Gordon and Reggie said, you know, you probably have about 100 people there. There are probably almost 200 people there. There were so many people, I was like, fire hydrant back on. It went really good. We got that all taken care of. I spoke with Troy this morning. Definitely going to have to possibly rethink the reusing the uniforms. We would only get softball and baseball back for that, but there were 3 teams for baseball, no, 4 teams for baseball, 4 teams for softball, and we only got maybe a third of the jerseys back. And of the jerseys that we got back, only about a third are like usable again. You know, I mean, baseball and softball are really dirty sports, and when they're hot and sweaty, I mean, I have 2 bags in my office now that I'm like, ooh, I've got to take those home and wash them because that smell. There we go.
That's just the boys, Janet.
Oh, you clearly don't have girls, because, wow.
I only have boys, I get it.
So.
It's no better.
It's great in theory, but if you're replacing 2/3 of your uniform every year, it just may not be the most cost-effective thing to use that type of system. But, you know, we can look and see, we can definitely finish out this year with what we have and move forward with it and do it that way, and then maybe look for the 2020 budget to make some changes to that.
I know lots of kids talk about wanting to keep their uniforms.
Right.
Anyways.
Well, and so I can tell you from the programs that I've worked with in the past, a lot of the times when you do a t-shirt, the kids like to have their teammates sign it and stuff, or like they tie-dye it or they do something to it to make it more of a keepsake, and then they wear it over and over again. So I understand the concept of having a nicer jersey for them, but at the same time, we in Need for softball gave the kids, they got a jersey. We priced out getting different types of jerseys. So they got a jersey and a visor, or they got a jersey and socks, were the standard part of the uniform. They were required to provide their own pants, and then we sold a visor for $10 that they could purchase. Not every kid wears a hat or a visor, even if you give it to them. So then it was more of, it was on the parent to do that. And, you know, I mean, baseball pants are $10. So it was just an easy transition. And then when we had baseball, we did a Henley shirt instead of just a plain t-shirt. So it was a little nicer than a regular t-shirt. It was a step up. But when I came out and watched a couple of games, the other teams are wearing t-shirts. You know, and it could be something too that we look and we switch to, say, for basketball, where they buy a jersey and it's a reversible jersey that they have, and then they could use it for multiple seasons. We would keep that, you know, do a rotating cycle, we'd keep that for 3 years. They could reuse it, and then we would change, keep the same colors, but maybe just change the style or the logo. But there are some options we can look at for that to make it a little bit more cost effective. Reggie and Gordon also told me don't get stressed out over the mud volleyball tournament or the softball tournament the day of. It'll just happen. It'll just happen. So I tried really hard to push it, like sign up. You know, space is limited, and people are like, no.
No, we'll sign up that morning.
Yeah. So
That's
I'm like,
a fire hydrant day, just.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm like,
For all
all
of
right.
us.
And
For
so
all of us.
I have gotten some good feedback from a couple of people that have said, you know, have some solid umpires for the softball. You know, don't put a kid out there. So definitely.
Yeah, they take it serious that day.
Yeah.
These adults are out there.
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think it's going good. I have to say I'm still very happy to be here. It's been a lot of fun. The seniors, like tonight I was late getting here because last Tuesday they had mentioned that they wanted to go to a Rockies game, and so I reached out to Hannah from the Rockies and said, you know what, can you tell me where in the stadium there'll be shade and some games that would be good games for them to go to. So she, of course, sends me this detailed, this is the area you want to see, you want a handicap section, this is going to be the easiest to get to, this, you know, 100 different things. And so I said that, and so one of the areas I was showing them that they said, they were like, those are lame seats. We are not sitting in this. And I was just like, it was a suggestion.
Yeah.
She just said it would be easy to get to, but we can sit wherever you want. Here's the pricing of the tickets. So we are going to plan in September a trip to go to the Rockies.
This is
Probably.
still surprising you.
Probably do a night game, which that really surprised me, that they are all about going to the night game because it's going to be cooler and
I'm in the light.
yes, and it'll be more fun to go to a night game. I'm like,
Who's your designated driver?
someone's got to keep them in line. Into the town red. I was gonna say we might be going down early. I mean, they love to, I forget how much they love to eat. I mean, everything is about the restaurant that you go to. So I did take them to the Lion King, to the movies, which clearly they don't go to the movies very often. And so I'm the mother of 4 kids. So when we went to the movie theater, you bought 1 popcorn and 1 drink. And then you got the drink carrier and you divided it amongst them because I have a refill. Yeah. And so I bought popcorn for them. And I gave them each, I walked in with all these little containers. They were like, what is this? And I'm like, I got you popcorn. And they were like, did you have to pay for this? Do we need to pay extra? And I'm like, no, I bought 1 bag of popcorn for the 9 of you. I thought that was hilarious. So they all brought their bottle of water in. So I'm like, you don't need anything to drink. We're good. But so then we went to the Lazy Dog restaurant for lunch. They were just like, oh, there's grilled cheese on the menu. Yeah, a little bit of everything on the menu. So then, you know, I'm always like, hey, we gotta go. Gotta wrap it up and get back. I mean, they've asked me some, like we drove one day when we went to Boulder to the puzzle company, to the puzzle place. They were like, can we stop at the pot shop on the way back? And I'm like, maybe another day. Today I have a doctor's appointment.
I'll check my blood pressure.
So, yeah, that could be one of our field trips they suggested. I was just like,
Oh my God, they're out of control.
so yeah, everything is keeping me on my toes. So,
Wow.
yeah, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
What's going on with the band,
What do you?
the senior band?
Oh, the new bus, it's, last I heard last month, it was still scheduled to come sometime late next month, mid-October. It's out of California, hasn't been shipped to Colorado Springs yet. And the whole delay with CDOT and the vendors didn't sign a contract in December, they didn't sign it until the end of March or April, so it pushed everything back 4 to 5 months.
Are they gonna take marijuana leaves on the side?
No. You know, Jen and I had this conversation, and she told me what happened, and I said, you know what, we still follow federal law, so you cannot bring that into the bus. Can't do it. Not without handcuffs.
No.
I'm not riding with you.
No.
That's no fun.
But, yeah, the bus is still scheduled, and Jen and I talked about the senior advisory committee was going to donate the van or whatever, I think for the youth committee or what, you know. But, you know, she brought up, you know, if the program grows, then we need a backup vehicle. So the town just keeps it, and the youth committee could use it, but yet the seniors still have access to it on the bigger trips. I think that might be the most practical way to go. And so, I know at least the van will fit in the garage over there. The new bus probably won't, so we'll have to figure that one out.
Well, and I did talk to them about when the van finally comes, possibly going, I mean, I think it'll come too late this year to do it, but maybe in 2020 doing some overnight trips, going to Deadwood and doing some, you know, trips down there, or, I said, wouldn't it be fun to take the new van, and go down to the Pueblo Chili Festival?
Oh, yeah.
Just take them places where they may not be comfortable driving on their own, but take them down and do that, or go to the Royal Gorge and then ride the train down there and just do some different activities.
I just came from the Royal Gorge. It was grueling.
Or, you know, we could go down and do the Manitou incline. We'll just all trek up that.
Sounds like fun.
So what's the age limit you have to?
I was gonna say,
50.
Why can you do that now?
I was just looking at my watch thinking, oh, am I 50 yet?
Get on that schedule.
But that's the other thing too that we could do by keeping the van. You know, we could set up some brewery tours where it's not necessarily a senior function, but it's a function sponsored for the town. I think that most communities don't program enough for the 21 to probably 45 age demographic, and there are things that
kids and the parents,
right, and that's the thing. I mean, there are activities that, you know, I mean, how many people would like to be able to go and do a brewery tour and relax and enjoy tasting the beers and trying it without the worry of who's driving home. So
That's a good idea.
awesome. That sounds good. Any questions, comments, concerns for Janet?
You may not want to put a cap on the age, you mean just 21
Yeah,
and over?
21 and older.
Just because?
You might have to get the school bus.
We'll be really Greyhound on that one.
You have to talk to West Pike, can we borrow your bus?
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Janet.
it very much. All right, Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. I have a couple of things to add. One thing is, the mayor and I are going to meet tomorrow with one proposal we received for the economic strategic plan. Fortunately, it was a very good proposal from Cheryl Trent. She used to be a planner up in Evans. I had several other planners contact me, but they didn't have a partner to do aspects of the plan. They're going to do some of it, and at the end of the day, end up having one applicant or one proposal, and I was quite pleased with talking to her, emailing her, and then I met her years ago when she worked for the city of Evans, so her background and credentials pretty impressive. So I asked the mayor to sit in with me tomorrow on just an informal interview, for lack of a better term, go over the scope, kind of what we're trying to envision with this. It needs to be an action plan, not a dust collector on the shelf. Talk about a kickoff meeting next month, and then I'm going to bring this to the board on the 20th for board formal approval to pursue. So that's, and it came in within the budget, so that's good. I'm gonna talk about wastewater here in a minute, but a couple things. Next month on September 4th, related to wastewater, is Mary received this. This was a gentleman who wanted to put basically a training workshop for wastewater operator, utility directors, board members, town managers, and finance people to attend. Basically, it's a wastewater operations course for small communities, and it's on Wednesday, September 4th from 9 to 3, so it's 6 hours. They'll provide lunch. CDPHE, DOLA, Colorado Energy Office, there's different presentations. Ironically, it focuses on regulations for lagoon systems. It looked pretty interesting. I asked David to attend and probably his entire crew, just because it's on wastewater operations. But it's open to you as well, so if you're interested, I'll have Mary put this in the package that I was reminded. I think we may have, I can't remember if we did or not.
Yeah. And you do have to RSVP.
Yeah.
So they,
September 4th?
you know how much
Wednesday,
they.
September 4th, yeah.
I would, I'm interested.
Okay. Yeah, please, just whenever you're comfortable, let Mary know. I'll have Mary handle the RSVPs.
It's in my calendar.
And we're gonna have it at the community center. They're hoping to have 20, but they could, hoping, they've got maybe up to 50. They're opening up to the surrounding communities. I know between the board and public works, there'll probably be 10 of us at least. And we'll just have the community center, that way there's a kitchen and it's easy access. We won't have to bother town hall because we don't have any parking in the currently. Another thing I'd bring up briefly is I received a call last week, somewhat related to the sewer lagoon, from Nick Christo. He owns 11 acres immediately between the community complex and the sewer lagoon. And I didn't make the map big enough, but here's the community complex and the mud volleyball, and here's the lagoons, and this is the other part. He owns these 11 acres, and he called me about the blue and asked me if I wanted to buy it. I said, well, ironically, the board authorized the purchase of more acres than that, about 15 for tract B there to be parked for future commercial development. And I said, we bought that for $150. He was thinking about 3 times that much.
Oh.
And I said, probably not interested, but I would ask the board if they would want to consider it. But I think that's a little too much, and I don't know. I mean, we could expand rec, we could, add on to the sewer lagoon, which we're not. We're trying to actually reduce that footprint. I don't know. I don't see a need for it. He was going to bid it out, shop it out for maybe some residential development or something. But I think $450 was the minimum he was asking for, and that's a little steep for 11 acres of property. So he asked if I'd pass it on, so I am. I'm just not promoting it right now. So.
Is there any access to it besides through
Reynolds Avenue, right where Reynolds and River meets? That's the only access to that property. Yeah. And if you go south, you go to Darlene Hardin's property, just north of the A Grand Storage, and then his is to the north. And then Mike Yule, who owned the 10 acres on 3.5 between Sewer Lagoon and Schultz, he sold that several years ago to a private property, to a private owner. So, Harvest Daze next weekend, Friday and Saturday, so we call it Harvest Daze Week. They would call it something else, but they can't repeat what. It's just a busy week. And we have a Harvest Daze meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Final details. Friday and Saturday events are scheduled. And then Sunday, of course, leads or finishes up with the softball and home run derby. So earlier today, paying any question you may have of me, Dave and I met with JV 18. There's 4 of them. Simon Farrell I call him our project manager. Kevin Tung was fishing somewhere up in the north, I'm not sure where it is. Simon's a very smart young man. He's very good at what he does. So this was called a pre-bid meeting. We had this scheduled for over a month now. The pilot study was submitted. CDPHE and Dave Kurz submitted that response. More information is needed. So Gross Wind Technologies and JV is working on that, mostly Gross Wind Technologies. So today was a pre-bid where we went over, in essence, and I have David chime in here, what the pilot project would look like. You know, the location, the size, the mechanics, kind of how it works. Because they're trying to put out a bid package where they can actually bid it out. They're hoping next month. It's not going to happen. The pilot still has to be approved. So long story short, we're going through all this, and then the thing that came up is the cost of utilities have gone up. You have to add a natural gas line to the sewer bill. So the utilities have gone up. We were looking at a $650,000 project. Now we're going over $800,000. So in the last half hour of the conversation in this room, I think all the light bulbs from the six of us came on. It's like, and Gross Winds is on the phone. Max, who you met at the board meeting, and his partner. Last month or June, they went fully operational on the pilot up in Iowa. What's that town called again?
Slater, Iowa.
Slater, Iowa. Same size community, a bigger facility, fully operational. And one of the engineers for JB checked the same weather climate category as Colorado. It's like, why can't we ask DOLA or CDPHE if this is already going? And we have to do a test in this state where we can take samples from Iowa. I mean, it's a gamble, but we all came to the agreement that we could save almost $1 million for CDPHE, and we can convince them to let us sample their facility, which is going to be exactly what we're going to have. It's just ours will be a little smaller because they have an 8-wrap system. We're doing 8-wrap. Their greenhouse is bigger than what we're going to build. So it just, the other things that came in place is if we get the pilot approved, once this pilot project is built, winter's almost done. And the goal of this is to test it in the winter time. So timing's off right now. The only gave us $200,000, but that's only a fourth now of what, instead of a third of what this pilot project is going to cost. So we started adding up all the variables. We got Simon's going to reach out to Dave Kurz at CDPHE and request a meeting down at his office, hopefully next month or later this month.
Hoping for later this month.
Yeah, we're gonna give it a shot. To be honest with you, still pursue the same thing, but you know, this isn't a pilot. I mean, it is. This is a basically phase 1 project. I mean, we're just getting up there now. And one thing I voiced strongly to Grossman over the phone is they're convinced that these utilities are not right. JBA and Gross Winds are off as far as how they calculate utility costs. And I can't blame JBA, they're being conservative based upon known cost. So one conversation is, well, why can't we get a hold of the operators in the city of Slater, Iowa, and say, what are your utility companies, what are your rates per whatever, like Atlas and Excel? Let's compare apples to apples. I mean, instead of estimating, let's see what you're actually doing to operate. Hard numbers. So we're going to pursue that route. If, say, CDPHE allows us to at least look into this and use Slater's plan, one recommendation is that Dave and I, part of the JVA team, and members of the board, we take a trip. Instead of $800,000, let's invest $50,000. Do the sampling, do the trips, once in the summer, once in the winter. Look it over, check it out. I made sure with Gross Winds and Max that we have to have the numbers, and that's why we did this, not just because it's green. But the utilities don't come in like they initially told us they would. I'm not saying they're lying. And I said, why not go to the board and just ask for an SPR? It's going to be the same number. It's the O&M. We know the cost to implement both are about the same. It's the annual operation and maintenance that we're looking at. So, not trying to be negative, but that was an eye-opener today. David, do you want to add anything I left out? You know the terminology better than I do, but
I don't think you left anything out, Troy. The biggest, I think the conclusion of the meeting, and Troy touched on it, was the biggest selling point right now to the state would be the fact that we basically are going to be a whole year removed from doing cold weather data collection if we go ahead and put in our own. So that's going to push out our compliance much further. Whereas if we can use the Slater cold weather data, since they're already up and functioning, they're actually gonna collect it for the whole cold weather season this year. Then the state will have that data to look at. And so in essence, that will actually push, if they're willing to look at that Slater data and take that and then end up giving the alternate technology approval, that would actually push us faster on staying closer to the original compliance schedule than what it would be if we asked for, okay, we've asked for a year, but now we're not gonna have this thing built before most of the cold weather potentially hits. So now we're gonna ask for another 6, 8, 12 months on top of that so we can get through another cold weather season and see how it actually functions. So, it's kind of a Hail Mary to a certain extent because we kind of broached it with the health department originally, and originally they said, well, we want to see that the town is invested in trying to figure this out, so we don't think that's an option. But now that the town has invested several $1,000s in putting the plan together, figuring it out, now we can go back to them and say, listen, this went from what we were hoping to be about a $500,000 pilot project, which most pilots, we found out today, are somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000. Most of the time, they come in on a skid, they have the whole mini plant set up, they feed a small portion of the wastewater through it, they test it for 90 days to 6 months, and they send it on its way.
SDR plant, not this, right?
Well, the typical pilot system, the manufacturer has a very microcosm of their thing on a like a skid system that they could bring in on a semi-trailer, where they might even have it built in a semi-trailer where they just plug and play. Literally, they already have the generators, they already have the power equipment, they've already got all their control panels, they've got everything else all built. You just plug your wastewater stream into it, you run through it, and you go from there. And part of what we have found was the numbers that, the O&M numbers that we were originally looking at from GWT, Grosswind, was the just their technology, just their wrap. It wasn't taking into account all of the other components that we have to have with the wrap. The operators, the disinfection, the pre-pumping, all of the additional stuff that's going to go with every facility. They were just taking their piece. They weren't factoring in all the other stuff. So JVA has taken a snapshot and said, well, we factor all the rest of this in. Plus, the numbers that Grosswind was quoting aren't jiving with what JVA has been getting from the manufacturer as far as heating costs. You have to maintain a temperature of 55 degrees in that thing, in that greenhouse, in the wintertime, to keep the algae alive. So, those kinds of things aren't matching up quite as well. The O&M costs that JVA is looking at right now are still less than an SDR, but they're not as significantly less as we had originally thought. In no way does JVA want to pitch this idea out the window at this point, throw the baby out with the bathwater, as the old term goes. Because honestly, I think that this is still a really good and a viable technology. And even if the O&M costs aren't as great as we thought they might be, if we end up getting the approval and we end up being able to use the Slater data, so we don't have to spend the money up front and find out that this is still a viable system that would work here, I still think the mechanics of this one may be such that it might be an easier system for our operators to deal with, and so it might be something we eventually could move back in-house versus having to have an outside operator run it for us. But those are all considerations for down the road. So, sorry.
Well, there's a lot of factors, and there was some frustration on my part. I voiced that today, but I think my concern is the cost, obviously, so I gotta keep those costs down. So we're gonna, through Kevin, or not Kevin, but Simon, we're gonna make that request to CDPH, Dave Curtis, to meet with him, and the the other part of the CPHC, the compliance, the permitting section, because they're separate, they can get together. And see if we can basically sell this or convince them. I mean, it's worth $800,000 for our to give it a shot. Like David said, they didn't respond to it initially, but now that we've invested so much, we received a DOLA grant. I'm going to ask Don Sandoval to go. I'm just trying to find every way to save some money while getting the same thing accomplished if we can. And we'll just update the board, but we're hoping by the end of the month, and it won't be before the August 20th meeting, but it'll be at least as soon as, probably by the first meeting in September maybe.
What more does the state want, or what's taking us so long? I thought we were looking at July, August timeframe to get their approval to do this.
Roughly, I mean, it depends on that pilot project approval. They have a lot of comments that they sent back that Gross Wind has to respond to. And Max said today that he'd get all his comments back this week. He knows what the crunch time was. We still might be able to get approval, and Gross Wind can, say they don't let us use Iowa. We can, still get that round order and get it going. Well, I think they ordered it already, actually. Once we get that agreement with it. But it's contingent we get pilot approval and compliance schedule approval. So they're taking the gamble as well. But the nice thing is still go down this road, the pilot project aspect's not a throwaway.
Yeah, we're just gonna add to it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna add to it, so some costs won't be recouped, so to speak, because some of it's kind of temporary, but most of it's gonna be permanent. And if we do the pilot, and at the end of the day, worst case scenario, it doesn't meet the standards that we need. We're joking today that, we're spending $400,000 on one RAP unit. And they would rebate us 75% of that RAP if they give us $300,000 back. Well, I'm gonna use $200,000 DOLA money to buy that RAP unit. And I said, you don't get DOLA money back, I'm keeping that. But, JB thought that was cut tricky. So there's different scenarios Dave and I work with, you're trying to go through everything possible, but.
So David Kurz is on the CDPHE,
Yep.
right? The department that approves the extension, who's in charge of that?
The last I knew, and I haven't asked recently, the last I knew, they were still waiting for that director's position to be filled.
So, in my experience, and granted this is from an accounting perspective, no departments in the state talk to each other. Is there any way you can figure out who that is and have them sit in this meeting with you? So
They will be. They will be.
Oh, absolutely.
Part of what, if I may.
Go ahead.
Simon is inviting David Kurz and his contemporaries in the engineering division, inviting the permits department and requesting that they be there. Troy requested that Don Sandoval from DOLA be there. Hopefully that will help tweak the common sense side to our argument. And Grosswind will be there, and Troy and I have both blocked out the potential days for this meeting on our schedules to make sure that we're available to be there.
Okay.
So there will be somebody from the permit section, and Simon is working towards the fact that it will be a decision maker from the permit section that would be able to hear this argument and go from there. Engineering can say, yes, we can accept this later, but we can't control the permit side of it, which is the whole reason we were talking about the pilot here to start with.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when we take, the spec book is a 248-page document. It's got like 17 pages of plans that we have paid JDA to go through and design. We've dropped $10,000 or $7,000 on an electrical engineer in order to come up with the electrical components. Because originally, Grosswind said, well, it's a 5-horsepower motor that runs the belts. Well, our 5-horsepower aerators are out there, so we figured, well, we'll just take one of the aerators offline and plug that into that cord. We've got a 5-horse, we'll do that. But we weren't factoring in blowers and fans and everything else in the greenhouse and all that. And GWT did not put any of that kind of up front. So,
That's what JVA came in to do, the package.
Yeah.
So it's still more affordable annual O&M than SDR, but that gap is narrow. And I told them to work together and figure out, and that's why it dawned us like, well, Slater's up and running. Why can't we look at what their hard numbers are? Not just their testing limits, but the utility. You know, you can do apples to apples. So that's kind of where that's exactly where we're going. We're still following the timeline because we're under state compliance. So our fate's in their hands, so to speak. But I'm hoping in the next 30 days we'll have an answer for the board. So.
Question.
Yep.
My understanding is that you got a letter from CDPHE last Friday.
Just saying they want more information.
Was that the nature of their letter, that they just wanted more data?
Is that how you determine things?
It was more details on what type of testing they were gonna do to collect what type of results, so that the state would have, the information that they needed to move forward.
And that would occur during the pilot program, or would that be data coming out of Slater?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
They will be collecting data from Slater, and
The state will.
Or
they'll get
GWT will, the state will look at that data, but the state has specific data that they wanted to be part of our project. So part of the proposal that we're gonna make to the state, if we go, or when we go and ask to use Slater, is if there is data that Iowa is not requiring them to do currently at the Slater facility, part of the offer, for lack of a better term, trying to sell this, is that Platteville would be willing to pay for the additional testing from the Slater facility without having to build our own, but to still give the same, if there's additional testing that Colorado requires that Iowa doesn't, that we would pick up the tab on that, because that's gonna be substantially less than $861,000.
So in
If
summary,
it's not, I'm in the wrong business.
In summary, the letter from CDPHE is really just asking for more data, from wherever it may come from.
Fine tuning from the GWT side.
They're not saying no.
No.
They're not saying yes, but the data is relatively easy to obtain, I would say, especially from the existing plants later.
Should be.
Whether we have to pay for it or it's what they generate regardless. Just another point while I'm thinking about it. Some time ago in the conversation about the plant, there was mention of when CDPHE sent letters out to other communities regarding upgrading their lagoon system or water treatment plant. It was pointed out in the conversation that at least one, and probably more than one community, just threw their litter in the wastebasket effectively. They just ignored the health department. Do we remember all this?
Not particularly 100%, but.
Well, I say that as just another something to add to the argument to be presented to the health department, that we are making a more than good faith effort to comply with their requirement. Not only is it a good faith thing that we've actually put in money of our own, gotten a grant from DOLA, which we applied for, and went through those hoops and so on and so forth.
All the residents' rates too.
Well, that as well, the rate study. We spent some money with JVA along the way, and it would seem incumbent upon whoever's making this presentation to directors to point all that out, just to help convince them that we're serious, and we would hope they would be as well. It's two to tango here.
We're going to present the whole kitchen sink on this. This is the only shot we get.
That's really all I'm saying. Is, you pull out all the stops and throw anything you can at the wall and hope some of it sticks.
And part of it was just, getting on Gross went a little bit, not blaming them, but I emphasized to them that the green aspect is very enticing. The bottom number to our residents, they like the utilities, but they don't care how green it is, they have to just pay the bill. So that's a huge factor. So I let them that with that on their mind today. Probably the next 3 weeks, I'm assuming, we'll get a meeting. I'm not sure what, Simon knew that Mr. Cruz had a daughter or son getting married this weekend, so we don't leave it alone until next week. And JVA did say, which was promising, is that CDPHE has taken other out-of-state tests for alternatives.
Yeah, they have approved alternate technologies based on other technologies that were, other pilots that were done either in other states or in European countries. So that is not, we're not asking to set a precedent by doing that.
So that's kind of a positive thing on our end.
Sure.
It's just, an hour and a half in the meeting is just like, it's just start clicking. It's like, we tried it once, but now we're farther down the road. Why not give it another shot? Because it makes a lot of sense. And that's why Don's involved in part of it, because he's just a well-known, common influential person that he works with CDPHE, but he also represents Department of Affairs, and they generate. I'll finish up with this. Simon mentioned that there's another small community in Colorado. I don't remember the name of it, but they received like a 70% grant from USDA, a small tiny loan, and then a $1 million grant from NOLA. They basically did the wastewater facility for next to nothing, but their median household income was rock bottom. Here in Platteville, we don't have that. They meet those requirements, we don't. So we're in that kind of weird position here. So anyway, that's a long explanation, but I wanted to
Troy, one thing about the presentation on September
4th.
One of the things that they're really gonna present and focus on is energy. And they will have people from DOLA and CDPHE attending that as well. So this project is probably where they got our name.
And I told David he had to attend, because in the email they said somebody from Public Works can speak briefly about your pilot program.
Briefly, David.
That's the first time.
I was going to say that the day before, but
And we're all thinking.
Better with an audience.
You guys miss me when I'm not here.
okay, but a couple things coming up on the 20th of the 2 May. Otherwise, Harvest Daze is focused next week. We'll be busy.
Anything else for Mr. Rankin?
What's the movie for Friday night, next Friday?
I don't know.
We're
I missed the last meeting because I was up in Wyoming working. I couldn't.
Devin asked me today, it's like, I thought
It's
it
like
was.
a little mystery,
No,
clues.
they can't say it.
Right.
They can't say it.
They can describe it.
Right.
I think they talked about doing a Sandlot. You could say a bunch of kids playing ball field in the backyard, whatever. Kids say it.
So, the last meeting, there were only 2 people present, not including myself. And so they didn't have a quorum. So we took the opportunity to talk about how minutes and agendas need to happen, or cancel meetings. And we just kind of touched base with logistics, is what we did, but they couldn't make any decisions. I don't know.
Yeah, I do have one. The planners are out on Main Street now. They look great. What are the benches going to be put out there? Are we going to have them out there before Harvest Daze for the parade?
That's our goal. On a side note, and I won't mention names, we're down one with probably long term. We just found out another one's about to go on leave for another procedure, so we're at half staff. We will be after this weekend. So police department, we're down one, we're about to be down two for the same similar issues, so we're very short. And police and public works, and it's not short term, it's really long term funds. But to answer your question, we're getting, I kind of briefed the mayor on this before, but I try not to talk about staff, but we're doing the best we can.
I understand.
But, Hawkeye made some, ironers anchors because that's a wooden bench. So we build these anchors and weld them so we can anchor those to the concrete on the sidewalk and then attach a wooden bolts into the legs of them. So those are done. So we just gotta get them down there.
Yeah.
This morning, half the aerators of the sewer lagoon were plugged in, so that was their priority. They were up there at 7 o'clock in the morning, unplugging aerators. So we'll get it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the parks and trail, the other been a couple Saturdays ago, the big crowd showed up and they nailed it out. Great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
20 barrels full of dirt and flowers and 8 benches.
For those of you that don't think I do anything, I don't put all 20 of those out.
I saw you. I said, look, David's working. Oh, perfect. You walked into that one.
We did walk into that one. You led her right up the stairs, right to the front door, buddy.
Really working on trying to get that new truck, aren't you?
See, Jen, it's hard crowd sometimes.
I was gonna say, that hurt. There was some sizzle in that one right there.
Oh, goodness.
At least she didn't take a picture and put it on next door.
Not yet.
Look, they're out there working.
See, yeah, see?
Anything else before the board?
Yeah, checked out those drones. Forget it. Without any patterns, it's 13,000.
Oh, my word.
25,000 minimum for the patterns.
Instead of fireworks?
Yeah, I know, that's what I said, forget that. I didn't realize it was that high.
Wow.
I know.
That's why Aspen does it.
That's why what?
Aspen does it.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
really.
up in the mountains, so, it makes a lot of sense. You know?
Yeah, because they can't do fireworks.
Yeah.
Huh.
Where Estes, you have a big lake, you should move.
Right. They do it at Grand Lake too, but they should have moved the lake, or, yeah.
Shoot ours over the Grand Lagoon.
Wait for a big rainstorm and I get my street.
Like last
there,
Wednesday?
And 2 feet of water in my street.
All right, if that's it before the board?
I got one thing real quick. My retirement party is on the 24th. You guys are all invited. It starts at 4 o'clock.
Where?
So, at my house. And,
When is it?
the 24th, after Harvest Daze.
With the last Saturday of the month, or second last Saturday.
Second last Saturday. And, the ceremony would have my commander and sergeant major and stuff will be there. And I guess some congressmen, some people will be there too. So, but there'll be food and a couple cakes of beer. So come celebrate with me and have a good time.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes. 5:30, you said?
6:30 is when the ceremony stuff starts. Yeah, and it's all on.
And then he starts his next career.
Yeah.
All right, anything else before the board? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
I know.